Well, as is the case, we're about 20 minutes into a discussion we started in the green room. And so we decided that it was time to probably hit the record button and start to capture some of our thoughts because moving forward, um, my position about what I'm should be sharing and what I'm going to be sharing has changed. And if you listen to Dave's final podcast on Thursday, you've seen Dave kind of came to the same conclusion. It wasn't that there isn't information for us to share with others. There is. The others that we're interested in communicating with are the tribe that have already showed up, and we're content with that. We're not interested in raising the number of views or clicks. That's not what we're here to, because the type of information that we're exchanging with others um, isn't, most people aren't ready for yet. We've been hoping that in the 4 years I've been having these experiences, that I had an expectation that every human being's awareness of this change that's going on energetically would, kind of mirror mine. I know that we're all on different levels, but I kind of saw us all. And looking back now, and this is the only way that you can, is when you finally get down the road and take a look back. Yeah, I can't conclude that even the people that say they get it get it. And so moving forward, that theme that kind of popped up again, I want to say, maybe a month ago, about tending to our own flame, that was advice for me too. And so that's exactly what I'm going to focus my attention on, because the information that's coming toward me and the contact that I've been nurturing is moving up to a next level. Thanks, Dave. Everyone will love to see that. And so that's what I'm going to focus on for myself. There are things that will be of interest to others, and I'll mirror some of their experiences. But we're done putting out the fundamentals of the information that we put out. If I was going to give you a place to begin today, if you're not quite sure on where to go next, my advice, based on my observations, is to remind yourself that your thoughts become things. Take a look at your environment and what's around you and the things that you're experiencing, and see if you can objectively listen to yourself as an observer along the way, and see if the type of information that you're espousing is indeed exactly what's coming back at you, because that's how manifestation works. That's how the universe functions. So once you look at yourself from that perspective, you'll see where you're stuck and where you might be embroiled in some negativity. Whether it's well deserved or not isn't the point. Should we be upset about the conditions of Earth and where other people have put us? There's an argument to be made for that. In our 3D lives, it's certainly a reflex that we have. But based on a higher understanding of where we're all going and what we have right now, that doesn't really serve anything but to just continue to feed that energy. I think you need to just focus on happy moments and where you see yourself going. And I know that that's easier for some of the people in the tribe, because their focus in this evolution ascension process has to do more with guarding and protecting and being part of Gaia. And we understand that it has an effect on all sentient life. So it's not that we're ruling out the rest of humanity. You're kind of second place in our interest there, because we understand when we assist the planet that we're connected to, that we're also connected to everything else too. So when our good intentions go toward that effort, humanity is going to benefit as a side effect. We've always known that. But we were never trained to look at the planet as a sentient life form. We hardly were told to look at ourselves as that and understand how to align ourselves with these energies that are all around us. We're about to shift into a new level of consciousness on the earth. And I'm not saying that that's somewhere down the road. We're already most of the way through the process and we're at the tail end of it. So you have to figure out how you want to factor into the rest of that, because we're moving into a higher vibratory environment. In order to experience it, your vibration has to match that. So this is the only thing that I'll continue to repeat out there, but really the message is more for me than it is for anybody else. I am going to focus on the information I need to know, because changes in energy around me is evolving. I continued to report that, hoping that I would hear others that were having the same experiences. And it doesn't appear as though, that's what it is. So it's just easier for me now to keep my extraordinary experiences to myself as they're going on. And I'm done putting evidence out there. I did it for 4 years, hoping that it would get your attention. Some of you, it did. Some of you are starting to come around now. And really, that's the other reason why I made this decision to focus more on what's going on with me, is that there are other spots in the world that are popping up, that this level of curiosity and questions are coming up. Before, most of my contact was here domestically. And it's not as though I hadn't been in multiple Zoom sessions over the last few years with people from all over the planet. Well, that's what's occurring again. Seeing how, for whatever algorithm my episode on Gaia was featured, it triggered some people across the ocean. And so, man, over the last 2 weeks, I probably Zoomed 10 days out of the 14. Some of them with people we know already, but one was in Great Britain, one was in Slovakia, and one was in Romania the other day. And they have the same level of curiosity that we all did when Lemurians, Inner Earth, Telos, when we heard those terms, we ran to respond to whatever trigger inside of us blipped our curiosity. Hey, there's something to that. And I know there's something to that. I just need to follow that. And so within the last month, through those, I've been invited to go to Romania in August and go to Glastonbury at the end of September. And right now I'm plugging them in and we'll see where we go. But I suspect that there's a few other places, if I head in that direction, that will go. I definitely want to return to Germany. And there's a pull to Ireland. As long as I'm going to be in the UK, I'm going to be close enough to that. There are some colleagues that we have that are there as well. So we'll just see how it all pans out. I had been told from Yegyamaya back in September in 2021 that I would be branching out. And of course, I thought that meant, I would be going to Shasta and Sedona and other places for a while. Going overseas wasn't really on my radar, but here it is. And if I'm going to follow my impulses and address the people who vibrate at the same level, then now I see what she was referring to. More often than not, the things that are put into our field are things that we're getting set up to experience later. And we don't really understand that at the time we get it until, again, like we get on the other end, we can look back and connect the dots and, oh, that's what that was for. That's how I got here. So this forum on Saturdays is still going to be an ideal place for people if they want to come and have their questions answered in real time. Then log into this session with us. This is an open platform, and it was always meant for people to come here and share their experiences. So we've had lots of tribe that's kind of come and gone. I'm just going to put that invitation out there again. So as long as we do these on Saturdays, people that have their own curiosities and want to explore that, they're invited and welcome to join us here on Saturdays. So I'm going to have a sip of water and listen to somebody else for a moment.
Well, enjoy your sip of water. Loved what you had to say, you know. I'll be honest with you. I think I've shared before that my experience and your experience, Lowell, and of course Dave's experiences, there's a pattern to it that is not in harmony with some of other podcasts in that this is a natural evolutionary growth experience. It is wrought with being consistently showing up with incremental, natural evolution. And then there's an occasional leap, right? There's natural evolution, and then there's a surprise leap. And then there's natural evolution and a sudden leap. What I've, in my limited view of other podcasts that might be within this realm of otherworldly beings that are not actually otherworldly, they're inner Earth. They've been here longer than our human species have been here, right? They're like actually much more origin natured. But in truth, some of the things that I've seen that might have come up on my algorithm of podcasts have always been a little bit sensationalist oriented. Let me shock you into you watching my podcast. I'm going to shock it with my title. I'm going to shock it with a visual. And then I'm going to play some very dramatic music on entry. And then my podcast guest is going to start out with some sensationalist story, which is true. Like there's a lot of sensational things that happen, but the day in and day out life with it is generally pretty incremental, right? It's incremental growth and development. Now this isn't entertainment. This is real stuff. I have had a sensational moment that has been followed up with my natural evolution and growth in my day in and day out life that I have to handle. And so if you're looking for sensationalism, this probably isn't it. This is going to be natural growth, right? This is natural growth experience. And what Lowell's talking about for himself is his natural evolutionary growth into the next level. And mine as well. And of course, Dave and everybody else. And what does your natural growth look like? How are you applying it in real life situations? I'm applying it in my real life situation that's having an impact with other people that are in real life situations, trying to make their house payment, trying to make their bills, trying to have better relationships with their family members and their coworkers in the day in and day out life of living. That's what this is about. I'm not trying to, explain some kind of conspiratorial experience. I don't know about all that because I have a goal in mind, and my goal involves reaching another level or achieving a particular result. And if I'm distracted by shenanigans, I'm not going to get there. I'm going to be wrought with a bunch of drama that's not going to get me to where I want to go. I find that people that are completely mired with sensationalism don't have any personal goals of where they want to get to. They want to have their adrenaline rush triggered by nonsensical things to avoid their own personal life and their own lack of development and their own lack of accomplishment. And that's what this isn't about. So if you want to go on a path of true growth and achieving some result in your life, whatever it is, this is for you. If you want sensationalism, I would suggest showing up at some other type of podcast that's going to take you down a path of avoiding your own personal self. But
That's a wonderful observation. And I just want to underscore that because, we set that box out there for ourselves. Um, I'll complete that thought in a moment here because you were in a 3D world. Those dramatic things that we put out there are very effective. In fact, there's lots of places on social media that'll train you on how to get people's attention. But when you said this information doesn't lend itself to that, it doesn't lend itself to that. We're going to talk about some hard truths here and things that you have really little comprehension of yet. So it's going to call on first your faith to believe that any of this is possible first. And once that's established and you've prepared yourself in that way, then we're going to share some things that in our world right here seems extraordinary. It was, I mentioned this the other day. I hadn't listened to Bashar for a few years now, but I had the opportunity to the other day. And I don't know why I listened to it, but there's always a reason why I do. He was being interviewed by Danica Patrick, and over, this hour and 10 minutes or so, he confirmed a few things for me again, that the things that he was talking about were certainly awarenesses that I possessed. It was just good to hear somebody from within this community who really spoke more to the fundamental truths of the things that are going on now, without any kind of shellac or anything to make it a prettier story. He puts out there what channels through him, and there were some things that were certainly truths I held that didn't come up in conversations before. And I think there are 4 or 5 instances in there when yep, 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 yep. Glad to see that somebody else sees it from that perspective. But that perspective is not global by any means yet. Yeah, humans are still catching up to this phenomenon that's going on. And I guess now the hope that I would hold out is that you begin to feel these energies for yourself, because that's where it began with me. It wasn't words that I heard or a story that was told to me or a movie that I watched. Those things all were triggers of some type, but there's something greater than that just kind of came in. And that's kind of where I work from now. Paula?
Mhm. Oh yeah, it's interesting you bring up Bashar because I do resonate with that information. It's pretty grounded. It's very grounded. It says, you know what? If you need to um have uh any kind of particular event be ritualized for it to happen, like for example, I think he brings up these things called permission slips. You've heard of him talk about permission slips. It's like, oh yeah, for me to um, make a lot of money, I have to do steps 1 through 5, and then the money comes. He said that's a permission slip. Money is already there. If you create a bunch of permission slips for it to come to you, that's your game. Chances are, if you need to take a particular medication for you to cure a disease, it's a permission slip. If you need to pray upon crystals and have incense blown around it and sage, la la la, it's a permission slip. It's all the same thing, but it's effective because if you believe it, then you can make it happen. These things can happen instantaneously. What I also like about Daryl Anka is that this whole channeling Bashar isn't his whole sacrificial life purpose. He has given a lot of his life to film production that aren't around any kind of entities. He's been a film director and producer, and I think he likes to create the special effects for films. unrelated. His film industry cohorts didn't even know he was channeling Bashar, not even aware, separate. Not because he hid it, it just didn't come up. It didn't have anything to
Mhm.
do with film production. And now he has it. He and his wife have opened up an escape room in Los Angeles, totally unrelated to Bashar, because it's like, you know, we're kind of retired, and so we're trying to figure out other ways to bring in money. Bashar doesn't come up at all in that part of his life. Like, this Bashar thing is one thing of many things in his life that he is involved in. He didn't sacrifice himself to this, right? Let
Right.
me put 100% of it because I need to help humanity. Humanity's going to do what it's going to do. There's no saving it. There's no preventing, and there's no, you know, creating an alternative result. It's, what do you want to do for enjoyment of your own personal life, right? That, what do you enjoy? And there shouldn't be any kind of sacrifice attached to it. So I love that you mentioned Bashar. I really resonate with everything he says. It's very, very down to earth and grounded. Um, and you know, the thing of it is we're here to have fun and play, you know, and there's different ways to play. Like, that doesn't mean going to the beach every day, bouncing a ball with your friends. Sometimes fun is showing up to work and seeing how you can create positive change within your work environment, in a very office oriented environment. That's very spiritual experience. Um, and so I think the natural life is just going what inspires you. And also Bashar talks about, do something until, do something that inspires you until it doesn't inspire you anymore, then look for the next inspiring thing. And he says that doesn't necessarily mean a whole different occupation. Sometimes it's, you go down a rabbit hole of looking for information on pink bunnies for 6 hours and you're like, I wonder why this is so intriguing to me. But then you find at the end of it, you're like, oh, I see, this looking for pink bunnies took me here. And now I'm sick of that. And now I want to go get a ham sandwich at the deli. And I've never liked ham. And here I am going to get a ham sandwich at a deli. And I get there, and lo and behold, I meet the right person at the right time. And then I play that for a little while. And it's just these little things. And you play it until you're tired of it and let your spirit take you somewhere else. And where it's taking me right now, I never thought I would love what I'm doing, but I love it. You know, I'm a medium, and I was sharing with Dave earlier, I've given hundreds of mediumship readings in high profile situations that I, under, you know, privacy, I could never divulge. So one would say, I need to take that as my career path and charge a certain amount of money because I have this history of high profile cases. No, that was fun. And what I learned from it, I'm taking into an office environment, helping others to be intuitive in a business industry, to give more integrity to it. Who would have thought? But it's a strange path to everything that you want in your life, and you have to take it. And it's not necessarily dramatic or impressive, but the results you get are amazing. And so I don't know. I just find it a huge adventure. And under those circumstances, I find myself being, I feel taken care of. I feel like I'm being taken care of and supported, and no
I think
sacrifice.
once you recognize these extraordinary things that happen around you, and in my case, that they're accelerating and almost in my field constantly. When Bashar said during this interview that the whole world is nothing but a series of miracles, if you're paying attention, you see them all. If you're not paying attention, then you're oblivious to them. But once you do see it that way, then it's not that you just understand the miraculous moment that you're in, but like you were talking about, now I understand all the dots behind me that had to connect in order for that to come true. that's when you really begin to see how miraculous the world is and how every piece of your experiences and a few others outside yourself had to come together in order for this to manifest. It's freaking cool and
That
amazing and unsettling when you start to live in that dimension and you can't turn it off. That's what was freaking me out a couple of weeks ago when this expanded awareness of things that I've been able to see and experience and articulate. I went out in a day where historically, based on what I thought the vibration was in the neighborhood, it really wouldn't happen here. That was not the case. And so when I say that this has just got to be evidence of the veil thinning some more, that this separation between us and things a little bit higher than ourselves, man, that is diminishing rapidly. And I think that we're being called to bring it to our own attention first. And when we can, help others kind of see that this is going on so that we prepare ourselves for the day that this is going to happen. We're almost there. And all I can do is, tell you how I'm going to prepare myself. And the rest of you can take whatever you can from it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm seeing my own experience with Inner Earth and the realization of how they live their day in and day out lives. The biggest revelation to me is I can behave like that within myself right now, no matter what's going on around me. And because I behave like that on surface Earth, I kind of study them. Okay, now this makes sense. I understand that there's something inside of me that understood the value and that this existed somewhere. Because how would we know when there's a problem here if we didn't have something inside of us that knew that something should be better? Why would we ever think that there's a problem with war? Why do we all believe that that's a horrible thing? If that's all we've ever experienced, other than that there's another truth within us that is said, no, there is another world and it doesn't live that way. And the beauty of that is in you. That's why you know it's wrong. Not because of experience, because there's something deeper inside of you that knows that there's another place where that doesn't exist. And the magic of that freedom of war is in you already. And so the more I behave like that on surface Earth, the less I crave to leave this experience for the Inner Earth, because I'm behaving that way, and that is coming back to me in spades, and I'm having the Inner Earth experience now. I don't have to wait for it. And then more magic comes to me in the most ordinary ways. But to your point, Lowell, I see the magic in it. I see the miracle in it. And because of that, I don't crave something different, and I don't look for a distraction in sensationalism. Because the sensational is around me in going to get a croissant from a smiling clerk who she and I have a wonderful conversation together. And I'm enlightened by that, and it's wonderful. So yeah, I I'm not down with the sensationalism, and I'm not down with finding out conspiracy theories. Do they exist? I'm sure they do, because everything exists. Everything exists. What Earth do you want to jump to next? As Bashar says, you're jumping Earths all the time. If you're jumping into the negativity of a conspiracy theory, you're going left. And if you're jumping into the miracle, you're jumping right. And your choice, I don't that those things don't even come up in my algorithm on my phone for YouTube videos. So I don't have access to them. It kind of tells me, okay, I must be moving right out of those algorithms. So, and I'm like, let me keep jumping that direction. What do I have to do to be disciplined to stay out of that algorithm?
Well,
And
your heart doesn't send you there. Your
mm-mm,
heart already expresses light and love. And so that's what you That's what you desire. That's the environment that you're most delighted in. And
Yeah.
so everything that you put out kind of speaks to that. The fact that, we recognize that there are negative thought patterns that you can have, you don't choose them because it's not who you are. It's not your nature. So when you just be, when you're Paula, what you get back is the Paula the rest of us see, this loving being that has concerns for the planet and others, but she's very grounded. One of the first things that, when you reached out to me first, you've got the same kind of grounding mechanism I've got. Very matter of fact, very due diligence oriented. When I want to get an answer, I'm going to find out everything I can find out about the topic. And then I'll be in a position to be able to intelligently articulate what I've learned. You are that same kind of model where you don't really get out there and blast all the things that you think that you know. You're really meticulous about how you go about it, and then more so about how you go about informing others later, because that's a gift too. You can see a lot of people that have absorbed a lot of information and spew out a lot of stuff. That's not the way that you're built. That's not the way that I built. I just as soon hold my tongue. And it isn't that when I, heard this information cross my path, everything like that is a test on how you're going to resonate with it. You're going to choose the vibration on whether this is new information that you need to take in and explore a little bit more, or whether this is stuff that you should just dispense with right now. Don't let it into your vibration and move on. We're in the final stages of this 3D earth duality experience. We've been here to learn these lessons, good and bad, but we're done with third dimensional density. We're done learning those lessons, and that's why earth is moving into a new stage of her own existence. Her consciousness is on the rise, and the rest of us that are in tune with that are moving up because we sense it too. The sentient part of me that's connected to universal things, I can feel where earth is going. That's what I talk about. I hope that everybody else is in tune with that, because that's a real palpable energy that's going on right now. But your vibration and your focus has to be in tune with being able to have those sensations. But they're here now. Whatever energy is rising and whatever veils are thinning, the recipe for all of this to unveil and contact to take place, I said last week, the table's been set.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I see beautiful things coming. And to your point, like what you think, you're going to get more of. What you put out, you're going to get back. I mean, it's just so simple, you know? It's just so simple, and just see the miracle in everything. Today, one of the things I'm excited about, well, I'm on the MIT campus right now in Cambridge, but I'm heading to Harvard, just a couple of train stops up. But I've been to the campus, one other time when I was here, but you know what I want to go see? I want to go see there is a building there called the Swedenborgian. It's for the Swedenborgian Society. Are you familiar with Emanuel Swedenborg?
I am
Well,
not.
you're gonna love this. To your point, like what you think is where it's gonna take you to the Earth. Bashar says it'll take you to a particular Earth. So Swedenborg is Emanuel Swedenborg. He is a Swede, born back in 1658. Mind you, it was a long time ago. And he was a very prominent politician and a scientist in Sweden. Family was very well-to-do. But at the age of 53, so I can recognize this, a little bit older, he suddenly was getting messages from the spirit world of relatives that had passed on. And he was also getting messages from alien beings from other planets. And he was writing books about it. I think at first he was kind of signing it, not his name, because, it's a little bit out there, but there wasn't the stigma attached to otherworldly beings that there is today, right? We've been propagandized in that direction. So he was saying, yes, I was getting information from beings from other planets, talking about love and peace and harmony on earth and living a virtuous life. He then went, then there was Swedenborgian societies brought to all the prestigious universities. There was a Swedenborgian society on every elite campus. Many of the, people of high stature were part of these societies. And he was the beginning of this quote unquote New Age movement that there's consciousness in everything. And so this little Swedenborgian society is still on the campus of Harvard. There's only just a few parishioners there anymore because it's gone into Unitarianism and all these other New Age things. So they weren't keeping up with the times to hold their congregations. But it really is the beginning of, hey, if you're going to be influential, you also should be virtuous. And there's a bigger reality out there, and kind of the beginning of even the spiritualist church of, which I, giving mediumship readings. He was the part of that. He was the first kind of out there contemporary medium. And that's what I'm going to go do today, and see that institution, and see the building and take some pictures of it. And I'm excited to do that. But all these things came together for me to have the opportunity to do that naturally and easily. And so I'm excited about doing that. But there's nothing sensational about it. It's pretty average day hanging out in Massachusetts for me.
Good for you.
I don't
Hey,
expect to
Taurus,
be beamed up
Taurus
anywhere.
light. Do you have any observations for us, buddy? Apparently not. Or he's distracted, or he's elsewhere. Well, Dave was in rare form on Thursday, and it was an appropriate final podcast for Star Chat. I want to set the record right because I know that his audience listens to these things too. This is in no way indicative that Dave won't still be speaking out. You'll see him, especially here. He and I, the things that are coming into our awarenesses seem to affect us both in different ways. And so I love to have these conversations with Dave. From the very first time we ever did one together, I went, this is really natural because we both elevate at higher levels and we understand we're still going through the process. So we've been there for a while to continue to talk about the new things that have been brought into our awareness, and kind of as the buoy for one another as we're going through here, the kind of touchstones that I've talked about before, people that are going through the same things, extraordinary things I'm going through, those are the ones I want to communicate with, because those are the ones that are lending some clarity to what I'm going through. And selfishly or not, I'm going to tend to my own flame now. I'll continue to speak out and have this platform available for other people to come and share their experiences and get some clarity out of it. I'm going to work on perfecting this particular incarnation. So before we finish, because it's just after 10, I'm going to give Dave one more opportunity to see if he's there or if he's just listening in. 3, 2, 1. Okay. I know what Dave is doing and he's at the shop. So, Paula, you have any words you want to close with?
No, just as always, such an honor and a pleasure to be with you both and to share the little bit that I have to share. And look forward to seeing what the day and the week brings, and coming next week as well.
All
It's
right.
consistency that wins the game. It's consistency.
Well, enjoy your time in Cambridge. Yeah, yeah. All right.
Thank you. Enjoy your time in Sedona.
Doing it. Thank you.